Good evening. For a session which happened after lunch, I was really shocked to see so many people up and awake and actually listening out. And thank you, Mr. Nacham, for actually setting the context to this session. It's been such a pleasure over last 1 hour to listen to different perspective, on different facets of the entire space industry. I have been not from space industry, I come from telecom, but when I look at space, it looks exactly similar the way it used to look around 20 years ago in telecom. And so I really see a huge amount of parallel which is there, both the industries. So I think Lakshmesh mentioned about 4:30 in the morning, and I couldn't agree more, Lakshmesh, with that parallel. So let me try to give you a perspective a little bit from a SATCOM perspective. We have heard about the overall space perspective, but I come from a SATCOM perspective. And so let me try and sketch that up for you. Basically, I'll try to focus on the three important parts. Of course, first on the state of play. How do I see for a SATCOM player entering the market? What does it look like right now, the space industry? I want to talk about OneWeb and where we are, and also then talk a little bit about the regulatory landscape, going ahead in this field. So let me go back. Yeah, the state of play, I think the biggest message which I get in this industry is the huge amount of vision and foresight which has been shown by the Honorable Prime Minister. We have seen him taking up the lead right from the announcement, then going on to formation of ISPA, and then earlier this year, Mr. Goenka is there, the launch of InSpace, which was a very, very important event in the entire lineup to what is envisioned in the space industry. So I think in terms of getting the building blocks right, this is exactly what the government has been trying to do, and that once the foundation is right, we are really up and running for the next part. Now in terms of the market play, what is really happening in the market, I think already we are using large part of the satellites, either it's television or in the broadband. And of course, as we are going ahead, we are increasingly going into the new areas of utilization, whether it is navigation, whether it is strategic defense, etc. So in terms of market, I think we are absolutely out there. And with the modernization of the chip market, we are also seeing now a high-speed, low-latency models coming up, which is really going to energize the entire market in terms of devices, in terms of products, in terms of what you are able to sell to the customers. So I think in terms of marketplace, we are there. A lot has been talked about the potential for the Indian industry. We see the current numbers, and I'm sure we only go north from here. There's nothing to look back out here. So space of the industry, I think overall, in terms of our current status, we are poised for growth is what I will really say. About OneWeb, recently we are of course a Bharti Group company. We started with sponsorship and agreement with the UK government, and recently we have announced a proposed merger with Eutelsat, which everything going in place should be in place in another 2 quarters or so. This is a constellation satellite of 650. We are up with 450, and we are very glad to share that we are working furiously with NSIL to launch the next 2 caches of our satellite, around 35 each, maybe over next 3 to 4 months. So that's at a very advanced stage of progress right now. And I understand that satellites will be available maybe next month, ready for a launch purpose. In terms of what we really intend to do, we want to give backhaul to telcos. We should be able to give you coverage at any location within boundaries of India, even maritime boundaries. And of course, we are going to power up the Industry 4.0 and IoT applications with a 5G-like experience available on the satellite at every place you really want it to be. We are already having a distribution agreement with Hughes in place, and so this is our status right now. In terms of the capabilities of this satellite, I think today you struggle to really get ubiquitous coverage everywhere. The government is running huge subsidy programs all across the country. More than 25,000 crores of subsidy programs have gone, and still we do not have a complete coverage throughout the nation. So imagine a situation where you start on day one and you have coverage available with you. Imagine the remote education centers, the healthcare facilities, the advantages which come out for fisheries, even for defense. Those are the real advantages which will be available from day one. And this is not an old generation satellite. We are talking about 5G like speeds which are going to be available from day one. of usage. In terms of the policy and regulatory landscape, I think in terms of the SATCOM, I think the government policy already enables large part of thrust. The National Digital Policy actually talks about satellite communication as one of the ways of achieving ubiquitous broadband coverage. So I think in terms of policy that is there. I think what is really required is a little bit of hand holding now, because this is an industry which is going to compete with a full-fledged telecom industry, right, which is a terrestrial. And the direct competition is going to be the terrestrial. So one has to see how do we really create conditions for the space industry to set up, because if we make it too onerous, if we put too many restrictions, if we try to put too many latches, this industry is not going to grow. And if it doesn't grow, then the entire ecosystem which comes along with the industry, and there are lots of use cases, lot of opportunities for manufacturers, all that is going to get stymied. So I think that is one thing which the government would have to do. Any new entrant in the market has to be given some sort of, hand holding to be able to really achieve, your space. In terms of opportunities, I already mentioned about the USO funds which are currently available with the government, which is more than 60,000 crores which are available. And if you don't have coverage, you can really start from a market on really day one. We have had some very primary discussions with a lot of stakeholders, including the Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, and we've got a very resounding feedback which is coming from most of the stakeholders to really start up this entire system now. I think one small aspect I just wanted to mention is about the spectrum, because there has been some dispute on how the spectrum should be used, and our request to the regulators has been that basically we have to focus on really creating this industry first, because if we try to auction the spectrum, it really makes no case. It's not done anywhere in the world, first of all, and really makes no case for anybody to actually start looking at it then. In terms of the policy perspectives, I think a lot of things have been clarified. From a telco perspective, there are questions about what sort of licensing regime should be in place for people who are not actually, let us say only setting up a gateway in India. So what sort of licensing should be in place? That is something which the TRA has already seized off, and I think they are going to decide. Similarly, a large part related to the charges and the levies which should be there, what sort of approvals and clearances are required. Technically today, once I get the go-ahead and green lighting from the InSpace, which should happen after the Spacecom policy in place, and after InSpace gives it, then also there is a complete new process which we have to follow at the Department of Telecom. So how do we really see, how do we short circuit this entire process part of it, which is really taking large amount of time right now. So there are multi-layered processes, I think, which needs to be looked at, because we've talked about ease of doing business. And I think we'll have to really, look at what is the best way to come out of it. In terms of opportunities on FDI, I think we need to go towards 100% FDI. We may go in stages, we may go in steps, but the ultimate aim is that we do reach out there. Perhaps we can start and protecting in the beginning and then, try to go ahead. But really we need to create a good level playing field environment for all stakeholders to really grow. So that's it from my side. Thank you so much.